Hello all you beautiful souls, I have some updates for you before we get into the video. First of all, we're going to be doing some crowdfunding to get this channel where it needs to be. It'll go towards travel expenses if we do live videos, it'll go towards production quality, stuff like that. We'll be selling stickers, out of all things. We'll have water bottle stickers, bumper stickers, stuff like that. I'll put a couple of the designs up on a screen so you can see what they look like ahead of time. If you see one that you like, look out for it. We'll be posting it shortly. They're currently in the mail. Also, I finally caved and made a Patreon. So if you like this channel, you want to support this channel, go check out our Patreon. I'll be posting full-length documentaries, other content. Down the road, we're probably going to be doing a podcast or we'll have guests on it. So yeah, if you want to support us, it's $5 a month. I just posted our award-winning documentary, A History of Wisconsin Freemasonry, Letters from Green Bay. It kind of goes over the first lodge west of Detroit and the history of 1820s Masonry in the United States. Very interesting, so go check that out. That being said, let's get into the video. Alright, so here we are. One of my subscribers gave me a suggestion to do a video on the possible connections between Aleister Crowley and Scientology. More specifically with Jack Parsons or L. Ron Hubbard. I thought about it over the course of a grueling 45 minutes and decided, hey, why not try it? After all, what repercussions could come from doing a video about I really don't know what happened there. Oof. Anyway, let's first discuss a little about each of the three aforementioned people so all of you can get a little context for the theories that will come later in this video. Aleister Crowley. Edward Alexander Crowley, better known as Aleister, was born in 1875 in Warwickshire, England, and has quite possibly the greatest and most random titles on their wiki page. Occultist, philosopher, ceremonial magician, poet, painter, novelist, and for some godforsaken reason, mountaineer. At age 23, he joined the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, an occultist organization which was an amalgamation of Freemasonry and ancient mysticism that focused on ceremonial magic and played a massive role in the Western occultism movement. He also studied ancient Egyptian mythology in Cairo, as well as Hinduism in India. Did I mention that he was born into a very wealthy family? In the early 1900s, he founded a new spiritual philosophy group called Thelema. Thelema coming from the Greek root word for will or to want, more specifically regarding wanting a purpose. In 1904, Crowley stated that he had received a text simply known as the Book of the Law, and it became somewhat of a Bible for his new group. It was on his honeymoon with his wife Rose Edith, a medium who was known to connect with spirits and have conversations with them, that, allegedly, a being from a different dimension by the name of Aiwas relayed the Book of the Law to her, and Aleister wrote down everything that was transmitted. Aw, don't you just love when like-minded couples take a nice, romantic honeymoon vacation and, you know, summon multi-dimensional spirits and wind up starting a new occult philosophical religion? Times were much simpler back then. Jack Parsons. Jack Parsons, born October 2nd, 1914, was an American engineer, chemist, and a member of Crowley's group Thelema. The original purpose of this video was to tie in Aleister Crowley with either Parsons or Hubbard, and well, being a Thelemite occultist, we already established a connection between Parsons and Crowley. But the interesting aspect to Parsons actually comes from his ties to Hubbard. See, in 1939, Parsons converted to the Thelema movement and joined Agape Lodge in California with his then-wife Helen Northrup. I say then-wife for reasons I will get into shortly. Agape Lodge was a part of the Ordo Templi Orientis, or OTO for short. It was an organization created to emulate classical European Freemasonry, focusing mainly on ancient symbolism commonly found across all bodies of the ancient craft. In 1920, the founder of OTO, Theodore Ruis, died of a stroke, and lo and behold, a certain Aleister Crowley became the leader of OTO. Due to his promotion, Crowley quickly incorporated his new religious movement, Thelema, into OTO. This is why when Parsons started to follow Thelema, he attended Agape Lodge, because the two became nearly synonymous 2 decades earlier. In 1941, Parsons was handpicked by Crowley to become the successor of the leadership in Thelema. Because he was affiliated with such a controversial order, and in the highest levels of it, he was fired from his job as a rocket scientist in 1944. Here's where things get, well, strange. In 1945, he divorced his wife Helen after having an affair with her sister Sarah. So, did Parsons end up marrying his ex-wife's sister? No, in fact, Sarah would shortly after the affair wind up marrying a man by the name of Lafayette Ronald Hubbard, or L. Ron Hubbard for short, author of the book Dianetics, The Modern Science of Mental Health, and founder of the Church of Scientology. How did Sarah Northrup know Hubbard? Simple. He was Jack Parsons' housemate. In 1946, Parsons would set his eyes on a project called Babalon Working, a certain attempt to conjure Babalon, the Thelemic goddess of female sexuality, alongside his roommate, Hubbard. The goal was to basically use sex magic and other forms of occultic rituals to reincarnate the Scarlet Woman, or Mother of Earth. The goddess Babalon also went by several other titles in which are pretty non-family friendly, so I won't say them. According to official statements from the Church of Scientology itself, Hubbard had secret motives during the rituals to subvert Parsons' spells and save Sarah from his clutches. The rituals, at least according to Hubbard, would not work, and he went on to marry Sarah as stated before. Parsons, however, would go on a 5-week-long sex binge with his new lover Marjorie Cameron, an ex-Navy Waves member, who Parsons considered as sort of a goddess on Earth that came into his life as a result of the first round of Babalon Working. He would call her by the name of Babalon and would marry her in the latter half of 1946. During the time Parsons spent on the Babalon Working, he was in constant contact with Crowley, who was the first to write of the goddess Babalon in the Book of the Law, and later in the text The Vision and the Voice. What is interesting about the relationship between Parsons and Crowley during this time period is that Crowley warned Parsons of the dangers of this kind of magic, while also comparing several of his own consorts as the Scarlet Woman or Babalon. In total, Crowley had 8 lovers throughout his life whom he practiced sex magic with in order to bring Babalon into the physical plane, the first of which was his wife, Rose Edith. What does this have to do with Scientology, though? Well, we already established that L. Ron Hubbard was involved with Thelemite magic and the rituals within the group, and lived with the leader of the Order of Thelema. Now, Scientology is very different from Thelema, but the essence of the two is similar. They both have a deep belief in human immortality, and both believe that humans have higher potential through mentalism. Both believe that humans have supernatural capabilities that stem from a person's spirit, which is a part of our physical selves but resides in a different dimension of existence. While Crowley and Parsons used this principle to communicate with deities from interdimensional realms, Hubbard applied this principle to understanding the human self and the origins of humanity. To go through all of the history and religious aspects of both Thelema and Scientology, it would take several days of talking, which for my benefit and for yours, I will not get into. But it is clear that from Aleister Crowley's involvement in the formation of Thelema from ancient Egyptian and other various sources, to the passing of the torch to Jack Parsons and the Babalon Working, and the split between Parsons and his friend L. Ron Hubbard, which led to Scientology, there's definitely a line of succession of similarities between all three men, with differences applied each step of the way, that make for a very interesting story of spiritualism, occultism, and a man's never-ending search for deeper purpose. These are the foundations that set apart those who lie stagnant in the pastures of life, and those who strive to understand the connection between the Creator and the created. Thank you for joining us on another edition of the Eleusinian Society. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below. And, once again, if you want to, join our Patreon, $5 a month. It helps us out greatly. Thank you.